Welcome to episode 1 of Discover Ocala, presented by Showcase Properties of Central Florida. I'm Valerie Dailey, the presenter for this podcast. Discover Ocala was created to highlight the many aspects of our Central Florida community that create a positive and impactful difference in the lives of our residents and will continue to shape the landscape of the Ocala and Marion County area. In today's episode, we visit with Molly Rowe, president of the Southeastern Youth Fair. So welcome, Molly. I really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come and speak to our community about the Southeastern Youth Fair. Molly is the current president of the Southeastern Youth Fair, and I believe this is your second term.
Second year, and it's a 3-year term, so I'm on year 2.
All right, one more year after
Yes.
this one. Tell us a little bit about the Southeastern Youth Fair.
Well, thank you, first of all, for having me this morning. And today is day 1, so of my favorite week of the year, as well as many. We are excited. It's been happening now over 85 years, I believe. It originally started as just a steer show. And adults could show, and now it is the largest all-youth show in the country. So we're very excited about that. There's lots of things going on this week, and we're very happy to be here in this community because we feel like we just have so much community support, and there's just something for everybody. So it's free to the public. And so really we just want to get the word out about all the opportunities that we have for everyone.
Yeah, there is a lot going on. There's an ag venture tent, and I think that is through the school system.
It is, and we're happy to have it back this year because obviously during COVID it was shut down, but we bus in second graders from across Marion County where they can come in for a couple days and really learn about the different ag commodities in Marion County. And so super happy and excited to have that back this year. We have many volunteers that help out with that. Marion County Farm Bureau is obviously super involved in hosting that. So that is one highlight of the fair that we're looking forward to this year.
Good. Go through the schedule. So you said today lambs and goats are coming in?
They are. So we have extended the fair by a day this year, and we're checking in our lamb and goats this afternoon. So those exhibitors will bring their animals to the fair, and then this evening after they get checked in, the students will have a meeting, and then they will do what's a skill-a-thon. And so students don't just show their animals, but they are tested on just the knowledge of the species that they're showing. And so that happens tonight. Tomorrow is when the shows will happen for those 2 species for lamb and goats. And then obviously the sale is on Saturday. There's many things. I can't even at this point memorize the entire schedule because there's just so much going on at all times. Saturday before the sale, we have the 5K race that I think this is the 3rd or 4th year now.
It's the 4th year.
4th year because you guys running it. Yep. And I get the excuse of not running in it because I'm also an ag teacher that has to be in the barns. But yes, we're very excited about the 5K. We have the steer show the beef heifer show, on Sunday. And then we roll into the steer show on Monday and Tuesday, have a little break on Wednesday with tractor driving and the barbecue contest, livestock judging, and then we finish off the week with hogs and horses. And I hope I didn't forget anything. I know the small animals check in throughout that week, so obviously we have poultry and rabbits and guinea pigs. Don't want to forget the guinea pigs, but there is a lot going on.
And home arts.
And
right?
yes, thank you for mentioning that because, and I have students of my own who maybe just kind of want to get their feet wet in the fair and just really want to start small, although there are some pretty big home arts projects too. But yes, definitely check out the home arts show that is on.
Yeah. So also with us today is Clayton Wagner. He's an agent with Showcase Properties, and he has participated in the past as I don't know. Do you showed a steer? Is that correct?
I did 6 steers, I believe.
6 steers. Okay.
Yes.
And what age did you start?
Fifth grade was the first year, and then I did like 4 or 5 consecutive ones, and then I think I took like a year or 2 off, and then I did another one the end of high school, I think it was. So.
And why did you participate? Because your parents made you, or
no,
Okay.
It wasn't. I was really good friends with Matt Kane, and he showed steers, and we ended up going to the same middle school together. Well, started in 5th grade, and he kind of talked about it, and it was, there was a money aspect of it, and as a 5th grader, it's like, wow, it's a lot of money. And then it was more so for like, he was using it for college education and like different stuff like that. And the 5th grader mind, it was a week off of school, so
Yeah.
we thought about that,
Be
and
honest.
I talked to my parents, and my dad, he grew up on a large dairy farm out in Missouri, and so he was very familiar with the cow industry, and Mom was a dressage queen, and that was not her alley, but Dad was all about it, and he's like, let's give it a whirl, and he's a equine nutritionist, so he was super excited from that aspect to be able to feed the cow and just be part of that process. So we pretty much jumped in head first, and it was a learning experience for sure. I mean, being around horses my whole life, it was totally different. Getting drug around the farm and lots of fun stuff, but that's kind of how it started, and then it just loved it after the first year and continued to do it.
And so now you're coming back to the fair through a different avenue.
Yes.
You have a stepson, Clayton, and this, I believe, will be his second year participating.
Second or third, yes.
Okay, and what does he do?
So he's done a variety of things. He's 8 years old this year. He's done a chicken in the past. I think he may have done a rabbit. I can't remember. But his favorite thing is a barbecue contest. So I can tell you, we've eaten our fair share of hot dogs in the last couple of years, especially like right before Fair Week. I mean, it's like, hey, do you remember how to use the grill and, all that. But it's fun for like his mom, my wife, and they do these big booths. And like we had a Hawaiian theme one year, and then we had like a old school 1950 theme. So, I mean, it was PVC pipes and ladder, all sorts of stuff. So it's fun. And then he also does a kitty goat show as well. So.
And what does that entail when they do a kitty goat show? What's that mean?
So it's pretty cool. They go with people that have goats that are showing them, and they kind of get mentored, I guess you would say, and they walk next to them. And, some of them have really well-trained goats and others not so much. But like, Caden last year for the first time, like let him lead the goat around, and like, it was pretty cool to see. And he was super pumped about it. And he'll be 9 next year and eligible to do a steer or something like that. So that's already been in the talks, and we'll discuss it further. But he's excited about it. So
Good. And Samantha Dailey is here as well, and she's a longtime fair supporter from very young age. Right?
Yeah.
Tell us your experience.
So my aunt and uncle growing up ran our 4-H club. So I was a 4-H'er long before I was eligible for the fair. We did, the watch me grow stuff.
That's right.
They had little ceramics that you could paint and enter in the fair each year called Animal Fever. And I showed rabbits and lambs and steers and heifers.
No pigs.
Yeah, I was not allowed to show pigs. My mom wouldn't allow that one. But I was always involved at the fair. It was, one of the favorite weeks of the year. Everyone always counts down to Fair Week, and you just meet the coolest people and make the best memories during the Southeastern Youth Fair.
Lifelong friends.
Yeah, lifelong friends. That's where I met Clayton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what are you doing now that you're not able to show and compete?
So I've helped in the past with the livestock judging contest, helped organize that. I always, lend a helping hand to mentor some kids if they need help. Every now and then I have a steer or a heifer that looks like, it'd make a good project for someone. And whoever I sell it to, I always, kind of help them through the process. I don't just sell them the animal and say good luck. I help them through the process, whether they have questions on feeding or grooming or clipping or anything like that. But yeah.
Yeah. And you also help during the show, too, in the arena.
Yes, I have been asked to be ring steward for the past couple of years. So I help, direct the kids in the right direction. If a steer gets loose, you got to go help them catch it and keep them going in the right direction. And if a kid gets scared or something, walk over and talk them through it, make sure, everything's good and keep them going forward.
Good. So lots of activities going on. You mentioned Animal Fever. Are they still doing that at the fair?
They are. They have the porcelain or ceramic figurines, and so it's especially great for the younger 5 to 7-year-olds that aren't eligible for some of the other stuff. They get so creative, and every year when you walk in that home arts building, it just amazes me, the creativity that comes out of these young kids. So I think that will be a lasting show at the Southeastern Youth Fair.
Yeah, it's a lot. I think we still have many figurines that Samantha did when she was going through that program as well. So how can the community get involved?
Well, there's many ways. I mean, obviously, I think everyone sitting at this table is a volunteer in some way. So we always need volunteers to help out, to carry this on year after year. So contacting the fair office, asking how they can help. This week, or last week, I should say, we had many volunteers who helped judge record books. And that's a part of the project that's not as exciting as the money that Clayton mentioned, because it's pretty extensive. 20 pages of, keeping a documentation on your project, writing a story, keeping pictures, the financial aspect. And so those are a contest within itself, and those can be judged. And so we need a lot of volunteers to help with that. I know, the market animals on that side of things, obviously, if you want to come be a buyer, that is always welcomed, because I know, some people don't even know that, these animals are for sale, and some are and some aren't. But absolutely, if you would like to register to be a buyer, just go on the website and you can register to do that. And just coming out and learning about the fair. As we mentioned earlier, there's no cost. I think just, coming out to the Ag Ventures tent, coming and seeing these projects, and spreading the good word in the community about the Southeastern Youth Fair, because these projects are so beneficial to our young people. And this is their week to showcase all the hard work that they've put into, month after month, caring for these animals. There's so many life skills that are being learned. So just supporting those students during this time and those members, I think, is probably the biggest thing.
Another thing about the Youth Fair is they award scholarships.
They do. And, it seems like we have had a lot of applicants the past few years. It just continues to grow, and that's a great thing. But we also want to find more scholarship money to award these deserving students, because I sit on that committee as well, and it's one of my favorite things to listen to interview these applicants, read their essays of how the fair has impacted their lives, and trying to find them money to, extend their education. So we have started, we have a scholarship committee. There's, you just basically call the fair office if you would like to donate to that scholarship fund, and then you can, go from there. But absolutely.
Clayton, do you remember filling out your record books, and what else in your 4-H club did you have to do in order to participate at the youth fair?
Yes, I definitely can't forget the record books. And a lot of times there were a group of us sitting in a stall at the final day finishing that record
and
book.
Now it's early because the kids like,
Gotcha.
No, I'm teasing.
Gotcha. But yes, absolutely. And then the biggest thing I remember was the demonstrations. And that was kind of your first public speaking thing, especially as a young kid. You take classes like that in high school and college, but as a 4th, 5th, 6th grader, to stand up in front of a group of people, and our club was small, but it was still intimidating to, stand up and present. And it was a huge education process of, what are you going to present? What are you talking about? And it was always cuts of meat, and everybody did different stuff, but there's a lot to it. I mean, it was a lot of work, and like you said, it's a great week to showcase all the work that you've put in behind the scenes, because I think that's where all the stories I have are definitely from behind the scenes as well. So
I think to get into the fair for a market animal anyway, they have to have an initial weigh-in, and then they have to feed the animal, and then they have to come back and they have to weigh a certain amount or have gained a certain amount. Talk a little bit about that, Samantha.
There's different criteria for each show because at the end of the day with the market animals, we're producing a product. So those buyers that are coming and supporting the youth, their option is to harvest that animal and then take that animal home. So at the end of the day, we're producing a product. They have to meet certain criteria.
What does a typical steer weigh when they come through? When they the first initial weigh-in, what is a typical weight?
You know, ideally, we like kids to start at least 500 pounds because they have to, the minimum weight to make the fair is 900. So if you start with a steer that's really small, it makes it really difficult for that animal to gain, you know, over 400 pounds in a short period of time. So, you know, typically 500 plus pounds, less than 900 pounds. They have to gain 2.25 pounds a day. So they do have strict requirements on those animals, but it's for the betterment of the project because like you said, you know, we're producing a product and we want to make sure that those consumers that are coming and supporting the fair do get a quality product at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think Sam said it correctly. It's a product, and that sometimes can be a hard lesson for our exhibitors if they don't meet those requirements. And I know my own daughter had that year where her steer just didn't meet the average daily gain, and that was a hard lesson. But we want to have, you know, quality, and so that's what it's about. And we learned a lot from that, and she grew from that, but. That these are the lessons they're learning. They're learning about, you know, the standards that for the industry.
Good, yes, and that's for steers and hogs.
Mm-hmm. I think all market animals, goats and lambs as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So,
can you talk a little bit about, so you can purchase some, you can buy one as a resale. What does that mean?
That's a great question, and we need to get that information out. So all the market animals will be harvested. So that's one of the rules of our show, that they don't go back home with the exhibitors, and that's not an option. And we have some supporters that really just want to write a check to help the exhibitor, and so that they can, you know, financially profit off of this. And they don't necessarily want the meat from that animal. And then there's some families that absolutely want the meat, and they're there to buy a top quality product. And so they can just buy the animal outright, and it will go to the processing facility and be harvested, and they will get a call and nicely packaged meat that they can, you know, stock their freezer with. The resale option. Back to that though, if you want to just help the exhibitor, what you can do is choose to resell it. And so the money that you spend as a buyer is going straight to the. So I'll give you an example to better explain it. Let's say that you purchase a lamb for $5 a pound, and the resale price, which is determined at the beginning of the sale, is $1 a pound. You're paying $4 a pound, and then the other dollar goes back.
And that $4 will then go back to the youth, and or there are chapter animals. We haven't talked about that. So the kids that are showing are either 4-H members or FFA. What are the differences?
Yes, so they have to be an exhibitor under a 4-H club or an FFA chapter to be qualified to show. That is the requirement. So, you know, I love them both. I was in both as a young person, and both my daughters were in both, because I feel like that each of those organizations have something different to offer. And so this year, my youngest daughter is actually showing her hog through FFA and her heifer through 4-H, and so she splits her time. But I mean, I could sit here all day and tell you about the benefits of both of those organizations. But yes, they absolutely need to be in one or the other.
And Clayton, I think one year you purchased a steer with somebody, so you don't have to purchase the whole steer.
Right.
Or the whole hog or the whole lamb. You can partner with somebody.
Absolutely. And I'd love to take the credit. There's actually a funny story. We kind of looked at the list, and it was, you know, a third of the way done. And I actually went to use the restroom and came out, and my phone was blowing up, and everybody's like, congratulations and awesome job. And my wife, who stood in the stands while I was in the restroom, purchased a steer. But no, it was awesome. It was a Lake Weirs FFA steer, and we split it 3 ways. And I mean, it's still a ton of meat, and it was awesome though. You got to, see pictures of the kids, especially being in a chapter steer, and you saw all the different kids that were part of that project. And then Clayton was with us that night, and he got to go see the steer, which we didn't know how that was going to be, because it's like, hey, that's going to be on your table in a couple of weeks. But that was also part of the learning process when we were doing it, is like, this was kind of a pet for a fair amount of time, and some were easier to let go than others for different reasons. But it was definitely emotional for a lot of kids. So it was cool to do this on like the other side of it and purchase it. And then I got to show Caden, like, hey, when you go to the grocery store or whatever, like, this is where it comes from. And it was awesome. It was a great experience. And yeah, we split it 3 ways, and that helps with, other people getting involved that may not otherwise do so.
Yeah.
So
It's not only emotional for the kids, some parents get emotional too.
Yeah, I think my mom was more attached to most of my projects than I was.
So I think we're about ready to wrap up. And is there anything that we didn't talk about at the Southeastern Youth Fair that we should have mentioned? And of course, we want to welcome everybody to come out and participate. If you have any questions, get in touch with us. But what did we forget
I know
anything?
you asked me about the chapter animals, and Clayton touched on it. As an FFA advisor, I get to see it firsthand. And when a student enters your classroom as a first-time ag student, and maybe it was their choice to be there, maybe it was not their choice to be there, and then they learn that there's an opportunity to show at this fair, and they sign up, really maybe not knowing all the aspects to it. And in our FFA chapter, we partner so that there's always 2 per animal. And to see the growth of these young people, and to see them go through the challenges, like, feeding on Christmas Day when it was freezing cold this year. And if your animal, maybe gets sick, or having to come in day out and day in and day out. But the reward is this week, like seeing them, go through this process. It's just such a great experience. So we love that we are offering the chapter animal experience. And like Clayton said, also the money can go back to the FFA chapters to continue these projects for those clubs and chapters. But I'm just excited for this week. Like, I didn't sleep last night. It was like Christmas. And I go to bed at 9:00 every night, but it was 12:30. My husband's like, will you please go to sleep? I said, I'm just so anxious. So I have a special place in my heart. And part of it is because I was raised in this fair, and I know what it did for me. I raised my daughters in this fair, and we're just so happy and pleased of the support, that we've received from this community.
Well, thank you all for being here today, and I hope that the listeners can hear the enthusiasm, can hear the pride that we have for this youth fair, and the reason why we love where we live is this is a part of our community and has been for many, many years. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you so much to Molly Rowe for taking the time to join us here on Discover Ocala. I also want to take time to thank Clayton Wagner and Samantha Dailey, agents at Showcase Properties of Central Florida. We're wanting everybody to know why we love where we live. And the Southeastern Youth Fair is one of those opportunities that we have in this community to support our youth. And I can't thank them enough for participating in today's podcast.
Discover Ocala is presented by Showcase Properties of Central Florida. As an independent brokerage firm for over 2 decades, Showcase Properties has helped customers throughout Central Florida achieve their real estate goals. Showcase Realtors offer expertise in a variety of property types and price points, and their services go beyond just buying and selling. Visit showcaseocala.com to connect with a dedicated local realtor and start your unique real estate journey today. We also want to thank you, the listener, for taking time to discover Ocala with us. We hope you enjoyed this month's episode, and if you did, please consider leaving us a review or rating wherever you're listening, or even telling a friend about us. If you have any questions on other organizations, individuals, or events you'd like to see covered in future episodes, you can get in touch with us directly at Discover Ocala at showcaseocala.com. See you next month.